I'm Dr. Aran Stevens, and I've been tracking the lions of this conservancy for 15 years. That lion, he's Lorkulup. He's the king. And he is in serious trouble. This was not supposed to happen. But in my line of work, supposed to is a luxury we can't afford. We found him at 0600 hours, just as the sun crested the escarpment. The signal from his collar had been static for 12 hours, a term we use for a mortality alert. I drove here expecting to find a body. I found an agamy. I cannot see. Lorkulup. The name means he who is great in the local Ma language. He was more than a lion. He was a relic. A 500-pound giant from a time before these lands were so crowded. But giants must eat. And that is where this story, this tragedy, truly begins. For a decade, Lorkulup ruled the southern riverbed, a lush paradise. His territory was his kingdom, and it was rich. But empires are not permanent. Not in the wild. A note here. The last 3 seasons have been brutal. The rains failed. The great herds of buffalo, his primary prey, moved north, following phantom water. We are witnessing a devastating equation. As the climate shifts, the wild shrinks. The wild is no longer a boundless expanse. It's a patchwork quilt of protected zones, villages, and grazing allotments. And the seams of that quilt are bursting. Lorkulup was starving. We'd seen it in the data. His home range, once a tight 50 square kilometers, had exploded. He was pushing boundaries, growing desperate, moving west, straight toward the Maasai. These are not villains. These are people who have lived alongside lions for 1,000 years. They are pastoralists. Their cattle are their bank, their culture, their life. A single lion can wipe out a family's entire wealth in one night. This is the front line of conservation, and it is not a park. It is a battlefield of needs. Lorkulup, the king, was now a refugee. And a starving refugee with 3-inch canines is the definition of inevitable conflict. We are still at the scene. I'm looking at the spear shaft now. The wood is smoothed by a human hand. The markings at the base, they are the signature of a local elder. This wasn't a poacher. This wasn't a random act of violence. This was retribution. To understand how this spear found its mark, you have to understand the 48 hours that preceded it. The data from his collar paints a grim, detailed portrait of a king's collapse. The chronicler's log tells of Lorkulup's final patrol, a desperate march driven by failure. He was wasting away. His last significant meal was a buffalo calf 9 days ago. Since then, nothing. We can see the track log. He stalked a herd of zebra, but his charge was too slow. The herd scattered. He was left with nothing but dust and exhaustion. He tried for a warthog. The pig bolted into a burrow he was too weak to dig open. Failure after failure after failure. Hunger is a fire. It burns away caution. It burns away fear. It burns away generations of instinct telling him to avoid humans. On the second night, his desperate patrol brought him to the edge of the Kijabe allotment. He smelled the one thing he could not resist: easy prey. Hundreds of cattle held within a boma, an enclosure of thorn branches. For a healthy lion, this is a fortress. For a starving lion, it is a prison for the prey. This is the precise moment of human-wildlife conflict, when an animal's biological imperative crashes against human survival. He wouldn't have hesitated. The log shows his location marker stopped moving. He was watching. then the charge. It would have been chaos. £500 of desperate predator hitting a wall of acacia thorns. The sound alone, a roar of hunger mixed with the panic of the herd. He wasn't hunting one, he was hunting all of them. He tore a yearling cow from the melee, a fatal bite to the throat. But he didn't stop to feed. He was caught in a red frenzy, snapping at another, goring a third.
The shy figure!
The Maasai homestead erupted. Men poured from their huts, clutching torches and spears. This was not a hunt for them. This was an attack on their home. Lorkulup seized his first kill, the yearling cow, and tried to drag it back into the darkness. But he was slow, weakened by starvation, now burdened by the kill. The warriors, the Aran, they are the fastest runners on this plain. They close the distance in seconds. A torch was thrown. It lit the scene in flickering, hellish light. The lion, the dead cow, the warriors closing in. In that single, illuminated frame, you see the entire tragedy of this place. The lead warrior, a young man defending his family's future, planted his feet. He did not hesitate. The spear flew true. The impact would have felt like a lightning strike. He dropped the cow. He roared, not in aggression, but in pure, white-hot agony. And then he ran. He ran for 2 kilometers, fueled only by adrenaline and terror. He ran until the adrenaline faded and the pain became the only thing in the universe. And then he collapsed. Right here. That was 36 hours ago. He has been lying here, in this exact spot, ever since. Dying by degrees. I'm looking at the wound now, up close. The wooden shaft is broken off. but the iron head is lodged deep. It missed the vital organs, a cruel mercy. It means he is dying, not from the initial incident, but from its aftermath. The stench of sepsis is overwhelming. The flies are a living shroud. His flank is rigid with inflammation. Fever is radiating off him in waves. He is deteriorating from the inside out. It is, perhaps, the cruelest death the savannah can offer.
5 minutes out in the...
My radio crackles. It's the veterinary team, 5 minutes out. I look at this giant, this king, reduced to a shuddering, broken heap. And we have a choice. We can let nature take its course, a brutal, agonizing course. Or we can intervene. We can try to save the lion that killed a man's livelihood. The ethical line here is blurred to the point of vanishing. The Land Cruiser pulls up, engine cut, coasting the last 20 yards. Dr. Eva Rostova, our chief vet, is out before the dust settles. She doesn't need to ask for a briefing. She looks at me, and then at the dying lion. One look. That's all it takes. Load the dart, she says. This isn't a debate about the philosophy of conservation. Not now. This is an emergency room on 4 wheels. This is triage. The dart rifle, a dull, anticlimactic sound. A small, feathered dart appears in the lion's massive shoulder. Lorkulup doesn't even flinch. He is too far gone to notice another pain. We wait 10 minutes. The shuddering breaths slow. They deepen. And then, finally, stillness. Let's go! Move!
We can move it.
The next 20 minutes are a blur of controlled, desperate science. The team forms a human shield, facing outward. We are still in open country. Eva is on her knees at the lion's flank. The smell of sepsis is unimaginable. She cuts away the matted fur. The metal object is in deep, jammed right against the bone. She has to widen the wound with her scalpel just to get a grip on the iron. This is the true reality of conservation. It's not just policy. It is blood and mud and antiseptic in the dust. She braces her feet.
A
Okay, hold him. I hold the lion's leg to give her leverage. She pulls. The metal object comes free. It is a foot long, dark from the affliction. Immediately, she flushes the cavity. Gallons of saline, povidone. Then, she packs the wound with antibiotics. It's too septic to stitch closed. She administers the heaviest dose of long-acting penicillin I have reorganization ever seen. Teeth are still strong. I check his teeth. Worn, but strong. I look at his eyes, now closed. I find myself asking the question everyone watching this will ask. Why save him? Ah! He attacked livestock. He broke the unspoken pact. By the old rules, his story should be over. But we are not operating by the old rules, because we are the ones who broke them. We are the ones who built the roads, who graze our cattle on their land, who shrunk the rains. Lorkulup's crim was not malice. It was desperation, a desperation we engineered. This intervention isn't for him. It's for us. It is an act of balance. We are trying to mend the damage that we, as a species, inflicted. Eva injects the reversal drug. Done. Clear out, now! We are back in the vehicles in 30 seconds. Is he moving? We wait. An hour passes. The longest hour of my life. Then, a groan. His head lifts. It is a slow, confused, heavy movement. He stumbles to his feet. He shakes. He looks at the truck. He doesn't thank us. He doesn't understand. He sees the vehicle that has been his shadow for 15 years. And then he turns. And he begins to walk, limping, toward the river. He will live. The mark will be his new signature. This intervention was a single victory. But Lorkulup's larger battle, the one against habitat loss, the one that led him to that boomer, continues. What happened here is a symptom of a much larger crisis. The work of our conservation trust is what makes this delicate, dangerous balance possible. We compensate the Maasai for their lost cattle. We fund the rangers who protect the herds. We equip the vets who perform these miracles in the dust. to support the team you saw today, to help us buy the medicine that saved this king, or to get exclusive field notes from my 15 years with this pride. Join our mission. Become part of the story.